Sugar. Wow, you're such a beast. You're always there, suggesting a feast. You're so persuasive with your cakey wares. I kind of wish I'd invested in shares. You see, you're there through thick and thin, in times of solace or a celebratory win. You've always been there. Since birthday one, you keep pushing the myth that you're needed for fun. You are there to mark every occasion, and even regular days seem to have their invasion. The builders come and we make them a drink, and a biscuit too, so the wall doesn't sink, because we want them on side working as best they can, so we keep them sweet as part of our clan. We see sugar as a social and quite normal thing. Every time we party, it's there like a king, a grand performer taking centre stage. To have a cake at a party is still all the rage. I've worked so hard to keep sugar at bay, because I know all the damage it can do day to day. But sometimes I forget, and I think it's fine. So here's a reminder when it's time for me to dine. It rots our teeth, makes us put on weight, and it keeps us eating till it's far too late. It causes spots on our skin as the toxins excrete, and we can add disease to our hearts, challenging their constant beat. We might be more at risk from diabetes or a stroke. There are 7 teaspoons of sugar in every can of Coke. It hides in all sorts of food, sauces, crisps and bread, and it can be quite a challenge to get that into your head. There are also links with depression, which seems to be a shame when sugar's billed as the party drug, yet for sadness it's to blame. For me, when I have some now, I can feel my whole body change. It alters my vibration and leaves me feeling strange. I have to ride it out and let it run its course, and I remind myself again and again that sugar was the source. And like I said, I'm usually aware and can say no without a care, but then there are times when, to avoid hurting someone's feelings, I'll say yes and share. And that could be fine, of course, to have an occasional slice, but how often will I keep betraying myself just to keep things nice? I know how I feel when I have it, my conscious mind is very sure, but when loaded with all sorts of other factors, there's still a really strong lure. To be polite, to connect through food, to oblige someone being a feeder. But at what cost to my health and my vibe? Why abandon myself when I need her? Someone asked me a while back, but what's your vice these days? Perpetuating the myth that we need one to get through each challenging phase, as if life on its own, undiluted, is just too harsh to bear. We must need to numb it a little. In its pure form, it's just not fair. And it took me a while to answer, what do I do for fun? But actually I realised that now I don't need one. My life right now is really good, the sweet bits and the bitter. And no, it's not all rosy and covered in sparkles and glitter, but when the yuck stuff comes up, the feelings or pain, I welcome it in. I do the storm dance in the rain. Because I know there's no escaping the suffering of life. There's only pushing it down, which inevitably leads to more strife. The problems with relationships or jobs, career or money, they need to be faced and dealt with. And that can feel really funny. Because we're not encouraged to get to the bottom of the issue. We're usually urged to hide all our tears in a tissue. Then carry on and eat some cake, just numb it out with food. And for a moment, yes, that can sometimes help to elevate your mood. But then you crash. It wears off quick and you're left feeling worse. And it happens over again in life, like some deeply effective curse. It's not always easy to say no to sweets when everywhere around you they're viewed as rewarding treats. But I've got to the point now where I really don't enjoy any of the feelings that sugar employs. I don't eat gluten these days, and that really helps me with saying no to things. It avoids the small yelps of protest when you decline a piece, but it's out of your hands so you can maintain the peace. But recently for me, someone had made especially a cake I could eat. It was gluten-free, so I accepted the offer. I thought it would be okay, but really it wasn't. It really affected me that day. I felt dizzy and stagnant, like my body had taken on some low vibrating frequency, and it felt really wrong. I realise it's not always easy to stop eating these things. We've taught ourselves behaviours that without them clip our wings. But I want to share my perspective that it really is okay to say no to eating what your body doesn't need, even on someone's birthday. There's no need to compromise your health or your energy in order to keep the peace or make someone else happy. Boundaries are such an important thing, and once you're sure in them, they are your friend. And of course they're yours. So you're the one to decide when to be rigid and when to bend. But make that decision by tuning into you, not anyone else in the room. And if they get upset because you won't eat their cake, well, how can you allow their gloom? How can you allow them to have that experience without taking on responsibility for their feelings and hurt, their reaction to you and their cries of, oh, woe me? Sugar was not ever on these aisles. It was introduced from another place. I'm choosing right now to let it go from my life and to decline it with love and grace. Or any offer that I know won't feel good in my being. And that thought alone already feels freeing. It's a bit like with cigarettes. For years I tried to quit because I hadn't fully accepted the reality of it. I hadn't fully acknowledged that the feeling I wanted wasn't there anymore. I just kept feeling shunted. I kept trying to each time with a big deep inhale, but it tasted disgusting and my health it impaled. I was still searching for a numbing and a way to feel lighter, just the same with sugar. I'm trying to calm my inner fighter. But it doesn't work anymore. Doesn't have that effect. It only keeps me feeling rubbish where I lose my self-respect. But I know if I keep going and eating it each day, I'll soon accept its weird comfort, and then I'll have to pay a much higher price as I have to wean myself off again. And with smoking, that took me a count of years in 10. A whole decade trying to stop, to cut that grip loose. A whole decade of repeatedly tightening the noose. Eventually I broke free, but only when I found there was a baby growing inside of me. That brought me down to the ground. With a bump and a shake so strong an awakening, and I'm grateful for that shift that led me to a different awakening. I had mum energy now and I wanted my son to thrive, but I first had to make sure that he got here alive, so the fags had to go. That was luckily clear for me, and as I'd had so much practice of quitting, I could do it when it had to be. But still, you see, I couldn't do it for myself. I was doing it for another, my little pixie or elf. But sugar ain't that clear cut. It's in so many things we eat. So to say no every single time is actually a pretty mean feat. So if you're there right now, trying to make a change, I salute you wholeheartedly. I know it can feel strange. Keep checking in with your body as best you can, and be kind and compassionate when it all goes down the pan. When you stumble off the wagon, don't worry, you'll be there sooner than when. Just keep telling yourself you're doing well and pick yourself up again and again.